Good evening, Florida lacrosse fans. The debut of FLN Prime Time. I always have to get creative with these little things. We're here to discuss. The Final Four is in the books. State champions are crowned. And boy, did we have a weekend. For those few of you by now who don't know, I missed my first Final Four, either as a fan or a writer, since 2011. Was up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania for my niece's wedding. You'll be all glad to know it's my only niece. I only have one nephew, and he's not dating yet. So should be a while before I miss another one. And look what happens. I leave you all alone for one weekend, and all hell breaks loose at a Final Four. I think we all had high hopes, at least, that this one, given coming after a missed season with COVID, that we're going to finally get back to a smidgen of normality, hopefully finding great games, a nice location, the first year of the classes, all these things that we had high hopes for. And frankly, I think we could all kind of say that this is not one of the greater Final Fours in the state's history. Not because the games were bad per se, but because all the surrounding issues that we had to go through. First of all, obviously, 2 classes, double the number of games. No high school can easily handle that unless they happen to have 2 fields with stadiums. I can't think of any off the bat that have that. So we were going to go to the park in Orlando. I think the assumption was we're going to maximize the stadium as much as possible. It was pretty clear that you weren't going to replay all the games in the stadium, but I don't think any of us were ready for what we were faced with when we came down to the actual logistics of the contest. This started right away. First game. I talked to community school head coach Melody Turner today. She told me that even before the game was started, she protested the field to the refs, that the field was not in condition properly, and that she wanted some things fixed before she would be okay with the game being played. She told me that a bunch of sand was brought out to fill in holes, tapped down. The game started. Playing American Heritage Del Rey. 2 injuries. 2 injuries in the game. She told me at halftime, the Florida High School Athletic Association people made the decision without asking the coaches. We are going to move the game to another field. So it went ahead. They did that, finished the game. Heritage Del Rey coming out with the easy win. I've been also told that water bottles were not provided at the beginning of the game for the teams. She told me that they actually had to go to the concession stand and buy it out of pocket themselves. I do know that basically it was taken care of later in the day where you finally had Gatorade and water provided, but for it not to be there at the beginning, strike. Those of you who are familiar over the years of my writing know I like to once in a while bring a literary theme into play. Those who are familiar with the novel, the Charles Dickens novel, A Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. We're going to kind of use a little bit of that theme as we go along tonight. We'll try to alternate a little bit back and forth. Certainly field conditions were the worst of times. There's just no getting around it. One of the things that I was told was even in the stadium field, apparently 2 months ago they reseeded it and there was not enough maturity in it. Gouges were taken up out of the field to the point where sand had to be brought in for the main field too. When I watched one of the games in particular that stuck out to me, the St. Andrews, St. Edwards game, where by the scoreboard side of the field, there was a lot of dirt that is visible on the less than high definition TV or computer. You could clearly see, and there were a couple of times when the ball hit the dirt and stopped. We're just not used to that type of setup in that situation. Also, if you looked closely, you would notice that they were using the unified field. Now, there's nothing in the rules that says that's no good. But the difference between the boys' game and the girls' game on the field markings is, if not substantial, certainly effective of the game being played. Some of you might have noticed that for the boys' games in the stadium, there was an awful lot of room behind the goal. And I believe that was because the girls' measurement was used for where to place the goal. I was also told that, at least at the beginning of one of the games on the girls' side, the hash marks were not properly painted. I just don't understand this. These are things that are easily controllable in advance. The conditions certainly played into the Vero Beach game, their semifinal game against Bartram Trail. Those of you who saw the video, that's one of the few games that's actually pretty much in full on replay, available on the horrendous NFHS broadcasts, that their star goalie, Joy Coffey, snapped either an ankle or a leg bone and had to be taken off the game. This was late in the first half of their semifinal game. And whereas they were able to win the game in the semis, I got to believe it had an effect in their final game against St. Thomas. And although I've not had full confirmation that she stepped in a hole, I have been told that that was very possibly what happened. And if that's true, that's just, again, a black eye on the FHSAA's handling of this event. Now, they finally learned their lesson because they started moving the girls' semifinals to the stadium. And those games were able to be broadcast properly because the stadium is hard wiring and doesn't rely on the Wi-Fi crap that the NFHS tried on the auxiliary fields. I had many complaints over the course of the day about the broadcasts on Friday, no one being able to watch them. You're paying $10. Most of you who tune in probably did it just for the weekend, and to not be able to have a broadcast to watch on a Friday unless it was in the stadium is inexcusable. Even someone as technologically inferior as I am knows that if you try to broadcast a video through Wi-Fi, through the park's Wi-Fi, when you have 1,000 people, many of which are touched or using that Wi-Fi, you don't have the ability to get it out. You have got to be more cognizant of your technological skill if you are charging money. NFHS, listen carefully. You better damn well refund the money to anyone who paid in the last couple of days for this weekend. You didn't perform, and you should frankly have your contract looked at by Gainesville. I have watched games during the season, and I've clearly watched games where the camera does not follow the ball. If you're going to be going out around saying about how great your service is and charging money for it, and I pay $10 every month, I don't cancel the service. I keep it all year. It's $120 a year for me, and I got crap to review. I'm going to give you a couple of little things that I found when I tried to watch and replays of the boys' semifinal games. Okay? This is what I found today on the NFHS website. The best broadcast was the Bulls St. Ed's game, which managed to get almost the entire game in until you find out that with 5 minutes to go, the film cuts off. 5 minutes to go in a close game, and you can't film it? What the hell's the matter with you? St. Andrews, Canterbury, and a whopping 20 minutes of video is posted on the site. Picked up late in the second quarter. A little bit of the second half. 20 minutes of the whole game. Jupiter, Plant. To me, the one game I desperately wanted to watch on replay doesn't exist. I turned it on. It's a swimming event. I hope that that's just a posting mistake. Get your act together. Winter Park Lake Mary, 46 whole minutes of film. I assume mostly late second quarter into the second half, and the camera was not following the action. What the hell is going on? Gainesville, if you're listening, if you allow this contract to continue, it is on you going forward. No one else. We pay good money for this. Get it right next year, or threaten to send this sports broadcasting to another entity. We don't deserve this. 4 games, not a single one of them full replay available. Awful. Lake Highland Prep Ponte Vedra semifinal. I didn't have a chance to look at that yet. Haven't talked to either coach of it yet, so can't really comment on that one. Vero and Bartram. I tried to get in touch with Coach Dean. Vero, haven't heard back yet. Frankly, if I were him, I'd be pretty much sharpening my knife for the storming of the Bastille. Bartram was missing Ryan Frechette from the game. She was injured a couple of days before. If I had known that, I probably would have predicted Vero. My fault for not getting that. St. Thomas, Aquinas, and Steinbrenner. You talk about bizarre. Here we have a state Final Four game, which actually is in its entirety, thankfully, being a stadium game. St. Thomas Aquinas won the game 8-7, playing the last 30 minutes, 11-8. 5 yellow cards on St. Thomas in the first half led to 3 ejections, 11-8. That is a remarkable accomplishment for the St. Thomas girls. I came into this game thinking girls 2A was the most intriguing of the 4 groups. Having seen how that played out, and believe me, I'm going to watch the whole game over the next day or two, my hats are off to the St. Thomas girls for pulling that off. I don't think I've ever seen an 11-8 girls lacrosse game ever. On the boys' side, on the results on Friday, the only one that I got wrong was Winter Park did win 12-10 over Lake Mary. Congratulations to Coach Ely on that accomplishment. It was a great back and forth game. Trailing by 4 goals in the third quarter, Lake Mary ran a 5-goal run to take the lead in the fourth, but weren't able to hold on to it. There were some comments brought to my attention about issues with a little bit of the crowd control in that game. I will need more details before I go any further than that. But when you're on a club level auxiliary field with no stands, no netting behind the goal, and maybe like a 10-foot rope barrier between the stands and the field, I don't know what you think you're going to be getting, Gainesville. You're just inviting trouble by doing that. Maybe it's just you don't get out to enough. Get out to, Alex, I'm inviting you to attend a couple of club events with me this summer. Just show up at a couple of them. I want you to see how, when the stakes are low, how difficult the sideline can get when you are talking about parents yelling at referees. It happens in the summer too. I don't know why you wouldn't expect it was going to happen here too, given this. And that brings up another point, which was a real negative. If you're not going to have nets behind the goals during a boys' game on the auxiliary field, do not schedule the girls to be practicing behind the net in line with people who can shoot 95 miles an hour. Bartram coach, I'm sorry, the community coach told me, no, I'm sorry, it was the Bartram coach. Bartram coach Koviak told me that she actually stopped her warm-up practice because she was worried about one of her girls getting hit with one of those shots that missed the cage. Be smarter about this next season. Now, I've been told, I haven't confirmed with more, that I believe Gainesville is scheduling lacrosse advisory panel meetings for early June. I sent out a tweet on Sunday night saying, you have ignored the lacrosse community for too long. We have a plethora of knowledge. You have advisory panels. Within a short drive of me, you have the former head coach of Johns Hopkins. You have the current U.S. under-19 assistant coach for the boys. You have the head coach of the England national team. All three of them have forgotten more about this sport than all of you in Gainesville and that board of directors put together and cubed. Get off your hubristic asses and start listening. We put money in your pockets. We're a profitable event for you. We do not deserve to be ignored. Get it? Listen and stop saying no to every damn suggestion it is made to you. This was a freaking disaster this weekend. You are lucky you didn't get parents injured with loose balls. You are lucky if you don't see a lawyer showing up on these girls' injuries. Wake up. Championship games, Saturday. I said there was a best of times. There was, if you were a Southeast lacrosse fan. The Southeast swept all 4 championships. If you include St. Ed's and the Vero girls in that calculation, since they are part of the South Florida chapter of U.S. Lacrosse, 6 of the 8 participants in the championship games were from the Southeast. Yet, that wasn't good enough for Gainesville in inviting referee crews. I spoke to someone who worked the female or the girls' side of the equation as a referee. She was brought in, even though she lives in this area. If it's all about travel costs, Gainesville, why bring someone on the girls' side from the area and not from the boys' side to referee? I would like an answer to that. This region won these championships for a couple of reasons. As this sport has improved around the state, it takes a usual pattern to it. First, you get the athletes, then you get the experience, then the youth programs start to kick in. The cherry on top of the sundae is IQ, lacrosse IQ. Anyone who watched Jupiter and St. Andrews in their games saw the difference in the IQ. It's coming in other areas, but it's there in the Southeast. You look at what Jupiter accomplished. They handled Plant pretty easily. They handled Winter Park. Winter Park got within 2 goals in the second half a couple of times. And that was it. They were never able to get within 1. And part of that is the IQ difference. It's going to come. Every area evolves in a similar pattern. I saw an awful lot of good lacrosse out of Winter Park. I wish I could say it about Plant, but I couldn't see the game. I've seen it out of Ponte Vedra. I've seen it out of Creekside. It's just that it's still a little bit deeper in the Southeast, and that's the challenge for the rest of the state to get to winning these championship games. On the girls' side, Lake Highland, American Heritage Delray, we finally found the rubber match from a couple of years ago. Heritage Delray pulling this game out, 11-9, back and forth, jumped out early. Lake Highland rallied, jumped back out, rallied again. Lake Highland took the lead. American Heritage won it in the end. Great back and forth game. Cannot wait to watch the whole thing. Coach Robinson, Coach McLean, congratulations for putting on a fabulous final for two terrific teams. Which brings me to another bitch point. Gainesville, I sent you a memo this morning. Broadcasters, if you are listening out there, get this in your skulls, if nothing else. Max Prep's national rankings are not accurate at this time of the year. We do not have 5 of the top 10 best high school teams in America. If you know anything about Max Preps, you know that you have to play a certain number of games in order to qualify for their algorithmic calculation. If you look at a poll and there is nothing that has an NY in parentheses or an MD in parentheses, and you take it seriously, you are making yourself out to be a moron to the lacrosse community. If you want to say Max Preps in Class 1A or 2A, or Max Preps in the state of Florida, that's fine. It's the end of the year. We're going to be as accurate as possible. I'll still have a couple of disagreements here and there. But if you honestly think that some of our schools are in the top 5 or 10 in the nation, get a clue. Bag the national rankings. Everyone. There were no New York or Maryland teams in the top 10 yet. Believe me, we're not better than them. Please. Now, I will say this. Ty Zanders, if you're out there, please consider St. Andrews or Jupiter in your top 25. There's no reason that we should not be considered. St. Andrews ran the table. It was a good schedule. It's a much better state. Jupiter handled its business. 1-1 goal loss. Please, Ty, throw us a bone, for God's sake. We are there. We really are there. St. Andrews, I think, deserves a top 25 national ranking this year. But certainly not number 1. Broadcasters, I don't want to make it a drinking game at next year's Final Four. Max Preps, national number 1. Drink. Now, please, whether it's Jupiter, okay, I see the comments on the side there, guys. Yeah, we're taking Jupiter over St. Andrews. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They are 2 fabulous teams. St. Thomas lost to St. Thomas lost to St. Andrews by 1 goal and beat Jupiter by 1 goal and lost to Jupiter by 1 goal. They're right there too. Terrific team. What keeps them out of consideration is the loss to Benjamin. But still, this is where it really is. So, I really want to congratulate the Southeast's run on this one. But I don't want to see this as a put down of any other region. You're getting there. You're getting there. But St. Andrews and Jupiter are special. If you don't believe me and you get a chance, watch those finals games. Watch Jupiter's offense. and how many times against Winter Park it got inside. The Winter Park goalie, Paul Pilgrim, played a fantastic game. I don't have the same numbers. I got to believe it's at least 15, many of them inside. The Jupiter offense is as good a six-man crew as I've seen in the 10 years I've been watching the sport. They know how to work the ball. They possess it well. Michael Smith had a great game at the faceoffs. It looked like they won 90% of the ground balls. They just played the sport the way it's supposed to be played this year. The St. Andrews game against St. Ed's, so much emotion going into the game because of the St. Ed's tragedy. Coach Bailey, your team deserves all the accolades. Getting to that final. Terrific season for you and your kids. Congratulations. Winter Park, fabulous year. Nothing negative to say about you at all. Undefeated, state final, defeated Lake Mary in one of those real gut check type games. Congratulations. Lake Highland Park on the girls' side, great standard for how the sport is played on the girls' side. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing this is Coach Robinson's first loss in a title game. God knows how long it's been, because I believe he pretty much ran the table every year at McDonough in the MIAA Girls Conference. He came down here first year as a head coach and won that. Then we had the COVID interruption last year. For all I know, Coach Robinson has not lost a title game in 15 years. Coach McLean, Heritage Delray, fantastic job. Your program came through. Your kids came through. Terrific. Let's see, who am I missing? Jupiter Winter Park and Ed Edwards. Girls with the 2A. Vero, fantastic. Coach Dean, fantastic record over the years. 10 consecutive state titles, back in the title game. If your goalie had stayed healthy, could have been a different ball game. We'll never know. St. Thomas, fabulous effort. Pretty much just, I can't say enough about that semifinal game. I just can't. Just terrific. All the rest of the teams who made the Final Four, who lost in the first round, great seasons. Congratulations to the coaches. Congratulations to all the players. For all of the seniors, I wish you all the best in whatever you do going forward. If you play in college or not, it is really a wonderful way to end your careers. It's disappointing not to get any further, but you made it a lot further than everyone else. Thank you for your efforts. For those of you who are masochists, the NFHS is actually offering for sale their championship DVDs at $24.95. You might have noticed that those who wanted to film the games for the school's use themselves were not allowed to. The contract, which really needs to be reviewed, Gainesville, please take that up with your panels. I don't know what else to say on that issue. I really don't. Gainesville, I've had your back in the past when it came to championship weekend. You've done a marvelous job in the past. Jupiter was a great place. Boca was a great place. Put on 4 great years worth of title games. IMG handled this beautifully. Their problem was they were in the wrong location for drawing the casual fan, and it was just too tough for people to get to. I've watched games in the past at, I think it was John Carroll up in Port St. Lucie. They did it for 1 year. I had a great experience. The years at West Orange, very first year I covered it. Yeah, it was a little rough in the media booth, but still, great atmosphere. Did a great job. You dropped the ball this year. You've got those advisory panels. You've got people like me who are willing to go to the end of the earth to help you get this right. And you have got so much wisdom and knowledge, even beyond those advisory panels. Please use them. The season is over. We're going to be on to the club season pretty quickly. One thing I want everyone to think about, because I know I'm going to be thinking about it a lot too, and that is, what can we as a lacrosse community do to help Gainesville avoid this and bring it back to the quality that we were so used to in previous years? This is 2 classes, and we had trouble with this. This sport is not shrinking, it's growing. What do you do with 3 classes? What do you do with 4? The football, think out of the box. You got to think out of the box. If that means one thing being semifinals and finals in separate weekends. I mean, why is it sacrosanct that it's back-to-back when you yourself scheduled regional playoffs a week apart? Why did you do that? You did it in all likelihood because you thought it was the best idea for the sport. Take a hint. If it worked for the regionals, why can't it work for the semifinals? Maybe you've got to think about classes being at separate locations. Or maybe it's time to think big. Plan it so that 5, 6, and 7 classes can be accommodated. This is a community that is willing to help financially if necessary. The demographic is there if we need to chip in a little bit. If that means a permanent location with plenty of fields and permanent stands and permanent hardwired facilities so that every game is as good a broadcast as it can be. This sport is proud of itself. It needs leadership in Gainesville that doesn't look at it as just another small niche sport. It's not. We see the fans. We know they're there. I don't know what the final ticket count is yet. I haven't gotten it. But I'll tell you this. It's going to go one of 2 ways. We did about 2,700 in Boca in 2019 for 1 class. If you do 2,600 for 2 classes, that's a failure. If you did 4,000 and you still had this handle on expenses, shame on you. Okay, we know what we need to do. Any suggestions, get in touch with us. I'm open to everything. You all know that. You can tweet it to me. You can send it on the Facebook page, lee@floridalacrossenews.com. Comments are welcome on the YouTube channel. We're not going away. Still got plenty of other things, but I kind of liked experimenting with different time frames. Maybe during the season, doing a morning show, a small morning show of a recap of the previous day's info might make sense. It's hard for me to do a primetime broadcast during the season, solely because I'm at a game most of the time. But maybe there'll be a way on off nights to sort of spread it out and get some nightly stuff. But we still got plenty of lacrosse. We've got the colleges. We've got a potential Tewaaraton Trophy winner from the state. A lot of things. We'll get a little bit more involved in the club scene this summer. Now we have the tent. Now we have the ability to broadcast live from the events on YouTube. So don't tune out just because it's the summer. We're going to try to make this a year-round function and build this YouTube channel up until I'm being able to do a lot more than just look at a screen and talk to you. So thank you for listening. Subscribe to the station, or the channel. Sorry, old TV term. Tell your friends. Still want to hit that 1,000 subscribers as soon as we can. This is Lee Roggenberg saying so long from the Sunshine State.